According to a recent Washington Post Ipsos poll, 51% of Black Americans do believe that racism will get worse over the course of their lifetime. Let's say you're president. What do you say to those Americans?
Racism has never been a less important factor in American life. This is the only country, majority white country, that's elected and re-elected a Black president. The formula, as I just now mentioned, for success is very simple. Finish high school. Don't have a kid before you're 20 years old. Get married first. Why do you suppose, as you and I are speaking, Brittany, Haitians in Haiti are lining up for a lottery to get into this country? Because America is systemically racist? Because they know this is a land of opportunity. That's why people want to come here. I mean, I don't buy into this notion that America somehow is trying to hold people back. It's in everybody's best interest for Black people to do well. Tell me how it is systemically racist when you look at stats on crime. For example, a young Black man aged 10 to 43 is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man. Is that because of systemic racism? Is that because of white supremacy or white nationalists, as Joe Biden implied when he was at Howard University? He said the #1 threat to the homeland was white supremacy. Nonsense. There's a connection between the kind of pathology we're seeing in the inner city and the lack of fathers in the home. In 1940, for example, where there was virulent racism, 87% of Blacks lived under the poverty line. 20 years later, 1960, that number had fallen to 47%. A 40-point drop in 20 years, the greatest 20-year period of economic growth for Black Americans in history. Why? Because it was rare for a Black child to be born outside of wedlock, a belief in Judeo-Christian values, a belief in the work ethic, a belief in entrepreneurship. Fast forward, you have an organization like Black Lives Matter, where on their website they attack the nuclear family. The co-founders are self-described trained Marxists. Marx was somebody who did not believe in God, wanted to dethrone God, and obviously didn't believe in entrepreneurship because he didn't believe in private property. So all the things that allow Black people to keep moving forward after slavery, in the face of the KKK, in the face of Jim Crow, are now under assault. And people who should know better are telling Black people that they're victims of systemic racism. It is nonsense. In fact, it is insulting. My father never knew his biological father, was kicked out of the house at the age of 13 by his irresponsible mother. Athens, Georgia, Jim Crow South at the beginning of the Great Depression. My father cleaned toilets for a living, 2 full-time jobs, cooked for a family on the weekend because he wanted my mom to be a stay-at-home mom, and he went to night school to get his GED, and after getting his GED, he went to night school to learn how to operate a small restaurant, which he started in his late 40s, ran until his mid-80s. When my dad retired, he owned the property where the restaurant was, the property next door, plus the house that's still in our family. So my dad retired, he was a millionaire. 8th grade dropout, Athens, Georgia, born 50 years after the Civil War. Give me a break. And right now in 2023, you give me these disparities and you imply the disparities are because of systemic racism when they're not. Disparities are because of behavior, choices people make. They should make superior choices. And what these so-called leaders ought to be doing is informing people that they should make better choices instead of saying you're a victim. I resent it. And it seems to me it is offensive to the history of this country and offensive to hardworking men and women of my dad's era who endured far more serious obstacles than kids today are facing.
I hear how angry this topic is making you. I'm sure the viewers hear that as well. And you said that as if you were president, fatherlessness in this country would be your top issue. That's interesting to me because how would you, what would you do?
What I said was I want to bring to the table issues that we're not talking about. The economy would be my top issue.
Sure, just one, of course, and we will get to the economy in just a moment. But what would you do to keep fathers in the home? Because that seems like a family issue.
Well, again, it's an issue about decisions and about choices, and we need to talk about that. It is, in my opinion, the moral equivalent of a drive-by shooting to bring a child into the world that you're not prepared to feed, clothe, house, and educate. I am urging all the people of my generation, the baby boom generation, these are people who are retiring or about ready to retire, who are vigorous, who are fit, who've raised children, who've nurtured grandchildren, who have life experience, and I'm urging them all to become mentors for men and women who are growing up in America without fathers. There are lots of programs, national programs, local programs, church programs where people can get involved. I'm also going to propose legislation to allow you to direct your tax dollars that go for welfare to organizations in your own community, churches in your own community. There are lots of organizations. They need resources, they need manpower, and for you to be able to direct your funds there where the people are in the neighborhoods doing counseling, often going door to door doing counseling, where the results are going to be far more effective, where people are going to be far more likely to be put on a path towards independence rather than dependent on welfare.